welcome everybody to this workshop showcasing the importance of timely RD&D data for energy innovation, hosted by the International Energy Agency. I'm Roberta Quadrelli. I work in the Energy Data Center of the IEA, and we just have a few rules to show for the workshop before we start, because this workshop is being recorded, so you should be all aware of that. We'll share all the material through a dedicated web page at the end of the workshop, but certainly we are welcoming lively discussion today because we have times for question, Q&A, and also we'll use the menti.com tool for engaging the broad group of participants. So I hope you're familiar with that platform as well. So I think we can start the workshop. The objective of this workshop is really to explore opportunities, I would say, to produce timely RD&D data because we want to improve our tracking of global technology progress and policy. At the IEA, we have key users, and we are very privileged to have the Chief Energy Technology Officer today presenting on the importance of this data. But before that, we are very privileged to give the floor to our Chief Statistician, Dr. Nick Johnston, for his opening remarks of the workshop. Nick, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Roberta, and thank you for inviting me to make the opening remarks. As Roberta has mentioned, the workshop is on enhancing the timeliness of energy RD&D data. It's important to note that we sent this invitation to, obviously, to the providers of the data that we've had in past years, but also to delegates to the Committee on Energy Statistics, as well as delegates to the Committee on Energy Research and Technology. It's important that these two groups come together, the data side and the policy side. And so opportunities such as this will be more frequent in the years to come, I hope, as we strengthen that relationship. Timely, transparent data, RD&D data, is essential for advancing energy security, affordability, and environmental goals. And actually having timely data in the space of public RD&D is particularly important. You know, this is the first trace of what we see, of what we hope the future will be. And so having timely data in this space is like having a window into the future, or at least what policymakers hope will be a window into the future. Moreover, it's important that we disseminate data in this space because it's often seen as a complement to corporate R&D data. The two work together. In many cases, the public RD&D data is the foundation upon which the corporate R&D data ultimately exploits. Practical terms, the IEA's State of Energy Innovation Report, which was launched in April 2025, so just this year, sets a new benchmark for tracking global energy innovation. We foresee it as becoming a regular publication, and the 2026 edition will feed into the IEA ministerial discussions. And so it will be an important document for, in effect, bending the trajectory of the work that we do in this space. Ministers will tell us what we should be doing in this area, and we hope that the report to be prepared this year, that the report to be prepared in 2026, will help them see what is possible. I'd like to thank Timur Gul, who is the Chief Technology Officer, who will present on the importance of timely data for the analytical work. So in effect, the relationship between the CES, the Committee on Energy Statistics, and the Committee on Energy Research and Technology is complemented in the Secretariat through the close relationship between Timur's team and my team. Today's session will explore how more timely data, up to the most recent year, hopefully, can strengthen future editions of the State of Energy Innovation Report and support better policymaking. We'll hear from experts and share country experiences and discuss practical steps to improve data timeliness together. And we recognize the constraints that many data providers face as they try and come up with timely data. This is not a naive wish this is an opportunity for us to work together to try and make the data as timely as possible for the reasons that I mentioned previously. And I'd like to thank Canada and Lithuania for making presentations today, in effect sparking the conversation that will start today, but hopefully continue in the months to come. We would, of course, welcome comments from all participants on how the IAA can facilitate data work in countries. As I mentioned, we're not naive. We know the constraints that you face, but we were there to help to the extent that we're able to do so. And then finally, I'd just like to thank all of our data providers over the past decades that have helped us develop this very valuable longitudinal data set on public RD&D. It's used by many, used inside the agency, but outside the agency, and hopefully by many of the policymakers present on this webinar. So thanks very much for giving me the opportunity, Roberta, to make the opening remarks. I turn over the microphone to Timur now.
Thank you, Nick. We will just want to take a small picture of the group, if possible, at this time. We have such a nice list of participants. You mentioned the right approach is really to merge data providers, policy, technology in the discussion, and this list of participants is really excellent. So we would like to take a picture. If the participants like to show their camera for the next 20 seconds, it would be good to show the gallery. And Anna is yes, taking a nice screenshot for our webpage later. If participants are okay to share their camera, to put their camera on. And so we have all the important people in the picture. You tell me when it's good? Yes. Mm-hmm. There's so many. Maybe you can take two. Yeah, exactly. Excellent. We have too many participants for the one only picture, so that's very good achievement.
Yeah, I see we have 48 participants. That's great.
It's excellent. It's excellent. So thank you again, Nick. And you already mentioned that we have the privilege to have the participation of our Chief Energy Technology Officer, Dr. Timur Gul, and he's the one that will convince everybody of the importance of timely technology and innovation policy analysis. So Timur, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Roberta. Thank you, Nick. Thanks to all the colleagues who are joining us today, and thanks to all the colleagues who've made this happen. It's indeed a great privilege for me to be here with you today. I don't think I need to convince anyone about the importance of the data. I hope everyone is already convinced. But what I would like to do with you today in these couple of minutes that I'm going to introduce some of our work. I would like to make you aware of how we're using it and why it is so important for us to have both timely as well as comprehensive RD&D data. Maybe if you can go to the first slide, a couple of words on our innovation work more broadly. I think we're missing, maybe there's another, yeah, well, a couple of words on our innovation work more broadly. As you may or may not know, support to technology RD&D has been one of the core missions of the IAA ever since it was established in 1974. It's a means by those who established the IAA at the time. Technology RD&D was identified as a means to enhance energy security alongside stockpiling measures on the oil supply side of things, as well as enhancing energy efficiency. So the IAA has been active in the space of energy innovation for more than 50 years now. We work across a wide range of areas here at the IAA. We, of course, have our technology collaboration programs that are overseen by our Committee on Energy Research and Technology. Both were established already back in the 1970s, and by that we are trying to support RD&D activities in the space of energy technology, across research institutions from all over the world. We work, of course, on data collection and analysis of this type of data, and we work on scenarios where more recently, over the course of 2020 in our Energy Technology Perspectives publication and then the Net Zero Roadmap in 2021, we were able to quantify for the first time the extent to which innovation needs to support meeting climate goals. So how many of the technologies are actually still at prototype and demonstration stage that would be required to meet net zero emissions by mid-century. Now, what it is a bit strange at times when you look at the innovation space is that everyone kind of agrees that innovation is important. Innovation is important to enhancing energy security, as I already said. It's important to meet environmental goals, climate, but also wider sustainability goals. It's important for affordability of energy supplies and demand, and it's important for competitiveness of different industries around the world. Still, from my perspective, innovation doesn't still get the credit that it deserves, apart from the recognition that innovation is important. So what we have done in recent years in my team, but also very much together with our data center spearheaded by Nick, was to further up our work in the technology space. And we are doing this across various different areas of work. I'll start on the left here. One is reports. I already mentioned a few of them, but we have introduced more recently our new State of Energy Innovation report that was released for the first time this year, and for which we are planning the next edition for early 2026 as a comprehensive go-to place for energy innovation data. We're engaging through high-level platforms where we have introduced our first own Energy Innovation Forum at the margins of the IEA's ministerial in February 2024, and where we are planning to hold the next edition in October this year at the margins of the G7 Energy Ministerial meeting. And we are looking wherever we can and as much as we can to reinforce our messages across various international initiatives. Mission Innovation, of course, is a key partner in our endeavors here whenever we are working on innovation and innovation data, innovation policy, and so on. We work with our technology collaboration programs. I already mentioned that we are supporting the G7, of course, G20, and of course the breakthrough agenda that we are supporting more broadly from the IEA. Now, the reason for why we're here today is that report on the left, but also very much the echoes that we are seeing for this report across these international engagements on the right. As I said, the idea is to make this an annual publication in Q1 of each year with recent data and estimates as much as we can. If you go to the next slide, then a couple of words on what the Energy Innovation, State of Energy Innovation report actually does. First and foremost, what it does, it presents multiple data sources. This is just recognizing that there is no single indicator out there that will allow you to say how much innovation has progressed in recent years. So we are assembling as much of the data that we are collecting ourselves and that we are receiving from governments in one shape or form in this particular report. It is a first of its kind report. I am unaware of any such effort previously. The idea is to provide a resource to decision makers that didn't previously exist, but that hopefully helps them understand where are we in terms of innovation, where are the priority areas where it requires government support, and where are the key actors in this particular space. There are different input categories, as you can see here on this particular screen, some of which is our own analysis that we're carrying out with partners, and some of which really relies on government input. Those that is reliant on IEA analysis and that of partners is on the right in this table. So that is about corporate R&D, that is about venture capital, it's about technology readiness levels, it's about patents and so on. And where we are relying very much on government input is those areas on the left. That is public RD&D spending, policy updates, updates on demonstration projects for which we are maintaining a database here, but we're getting a lot of excellent inputs from governments around the world, and it's innovation highlights, races, and so on. Just to say that we have carried out here to inform this type of work, on innovation progress. We've carried out a survey last year where we got 287 responses from 34 countries that helped us to understand the progress on innovation policy, but also 150 innovation highlights that we've been able to present on our websites. Now, what is important for this type of work is influencing decision makers, and getting their attention really relies on timely data. You're not going to convince anyone, unfortunately, in modern times when you're saying, yeah, data in 3 years ago suggests X, Y, Z. The world 3 years ago was a completely different one, 2 years ago as well. Last year is what matters, and ideally what is happening this year matters as well. As Nick said, we are completely in agreement and completely understand how difficult it is to make that particular point. So we are keenly aware of the shortcomings of data cycles here and how much time these type of things take. But I'm telling you this from the perspective of a person who is talking, like Nick does, with many decision makers around the world and who are asking us what is taking place today, not a couple of years ago. We have come a long way, really, on R&D, public RD&D spending data, and this is the particular focus of today's webinar. I myself, in my first job here at the IEA back in 2003, I was put on public RD&D data to review the available data and put it together. I can tell you we have really made huge leaps, thanks to all of you, thanks to all your colleagues, and thanks to the work of our data center. But we need your help once again here in order to make it more timely and more comprehensive. We can have data for the previous year, for venture capital, for policies, for projects, for technology readiness levels, but we are looking to explore with you what we can do for public RD&D funding estimates today. If you go to the next slide, then just a couple of words on why we value shared public energy RD&D data so highly. I think it's all the points that you're aware of. First, Nick already mentioned that it is government's spending on RD&D that shapes the direction of energy innovation. It is not the final outcome of what will happen, of course, in the marketplace, but it is that early indicator of priorities, of trends, and where we are probably falling short of what we actually should be doing in order to meet our public policy goals. There is an upside here that it follows a consistent technology classification and definitions that is endorsed by IEA members. International comparisons can help to grab the attention of senior government officials. So whatever you're doing in your own country will be compared with the efforts in other countries, and that is a useful indicator for your own country at the end of the day. The time series of data that we have collectively developed is very long. As I said, I already worked on this in 2003, but the time series really goes back to the 1970s, which is even before my time here at the IEA, which is truly unique. Nobody else has that type of data set out there. The underlying data is not publicly available from any other source, which is also an important upside of this data. And for several countries, we are already receiving very up-to-date information for which we sincerely thank you and for which we encourage everyone else to think about what they can do. With the next slide, I would just like to show you as a final remark what I promised in the beginning. I want to show you how we use this data and why it is so important for us to have that data too. You may argue with us, you already have so much with venture capital data, patents and so on, but this is not, as I said earlier, this is not the way you can work in innovation. You need all of that data in order to get at least a sense of direction, because there is no single metrics that allows you to do just that. What you see on the left is the shares of IEA public energy RD&D spending by category, and what it allows you here with this particular unique data set is to identify RD&D priority areas over time within IEA member countries. So it gives you a good sense of how things have actually shifted in relative terms in between technologies. So you see an increasing prioritization of energy efficiency, for example. You see less of a prioritization in terms of nuclear energy at the same time, at least in relative terms. What this data set, and it's not shown here, also shows you is, of course, absolute values. So you can turn this around to understand how high was actually public energy RD&D spending over time, and it tells you that $51 billion were spent in 2024. So a record high on the one hand, but in relative terms, that is a type of analysis that you can do. It also shows you that this is lower than what we have achieved in peak years. So today we're spending roughly 0.04% of GDP on public energy RD&D, whereas in the 1980s, this was 0.1%. So in the aftermath of the energy security crisis, the oil crisis of the 1970s, there was much higher spending in relative terms on public energy RD&D than it is today. And what this comprehensive data set, so how this public energy RD&D data set fits into the big picture, what this big and comprehensive data set allows you doing is to compare, to understand a bit where we stand in different areas. What you see on the right here is the peak year of venture capital, according to our data in absolute terms. In that year, $43 billion were spent on venture capital, whereas public RD&D spending was $48 billion. So roughly similar in that particular year. Corporate RD&D spending is obviously higher. In that particular year, it was 152 billion. So it gives you a good sense of how relevant is public R&D spending. And when you look at this particular chart, then over time, you will see that venture capital has been falling actually since that peak year, whereas public R&D spending has been increasing. So it just underscores once again how important public energy RD&D spending actually is for the energy sector, for innovation, and as a result, all the public policy goals that are associated with that. So with that, just to say thank you again to all of you for being here. I hope this gives you a bit of a sense of why we are so keen to get your help with this particular data. And I'd like to thank once again my colleagues here for spearheading this initiative and pass the word back to you, Roberta. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Timur. Thank you. It's so rewarding for us working on data to have this type of presentation from you, because it really shows the value of the data work that all of our participants are really helping us with, and how that finally really finds its way to the important decision makers discussions that you are informing. So this is very rewarding for all of us working on data. Thank you again, Timur. And I don't know if there is any question for Timur from the participants, because it showed really a variety of portfolio of areas of work of the energy technology policy area in the IEA. But if not, we'll have this Q&A discussion later. Once again, Timur, we thank you for really enhancing the awareness of the importance of data work with decision makers. I think this is very important in combination clearly with the technical discussions on how to improve the data quality in our own community. So this is very valuable for all of us. So if there is no question for this presentation, we'll move to the next presentation, where Suzy Leprince will remind us of the data collection we are working on here at the IEA. I think Suzy doesn't need big introductions with this community, because she's really talking to all of you multiple times per year. But she's really our data manager for the innovation portfolio. So thank you very much, Suzy, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Roberta. Yes, I think I've talked to most of you since I started like almost 5 years ago. So, but it's always nice to discuss and not just exchange by email. So yeah, here I want to just show a little bit of an assessment of the timeliness of what data we currently have. Just a quick reminder of the cycle we have can do us some good. So every year we have this request that we send to every member country. It's one of the membership requirements, as you probably know. So we send this questionnaire on the public energy technology RD&D budgets data. We send the questionnaire in December every year. And in this questionnaire, I'll show a little bit more after, we request data from year -5 to the current year. So current year, actually it's for December, it's for January on. So this year we ask data from 2020 to 2025 in the data request. We have an official deadline that's in February. In practice, it's not like a hard deadline. We understand that every country has a different system in place for data collection. So in practice, we receive data from December, even way before the deadline, to September, because we have these 2 publications. So the first one in May, as you know, beginning of May usually, and we include in this data release all the data that's been submitted to us by April. We have the October release that's in mid-October, and in this we include the data we received by September. We also have in June an important step that I wanted to highlight. This is where currently we've been publishing for the first time the global estimates of public RD&D budget, which include the data that you send to us, but also estimates that we do for non-member countries. So in this data request, we ask energy RD&D budget data disaggregated through several dimensions. So we ask the stage of the innovation cycle. So we both ask R&D data, research and development, and also demonstration separately. We also ask by the type of funding institution. So we ask government data, but also state-owned enterprise data when the data is available. Also by type of technology. Currently, we have the energy technology that are categorized into 7 main groups of technology, and then further disaggregated into 4 levels of disaggregation. As you probably are all aware, we are in the process of revising this data. I won't talk about it here, but I've been in contact with you on the topic, so this will change. And as I said, we asked data for the last 6 years, including the current year. We had for a long time only an Excel questionnaire where we were requesting the data, but from last year we've also asked accepted data as country to submit through the EVO platform. This is the Excel questionnaire that we've been asking for so long, with a design that's been in place for very long. As you can see, we asked for the 6 years. It says estimated for the last two years because it's provisional, and this is where we will insist a little bit today on those provisional years. And this new EVO platform that I won't go into details, just to show you that now we're trying to modernize the data submission process. So in terms of assessment of the timeliness of data, it varies greatly between countries. Between unfortunately, some countries that have not submitted data to us in recent years, but we're still working on that in collaboration with the countries to remedy to that. Then among the countries that do submit data to us, I've also mentioned that we have Latvia, who's recently become a member and who's in the process of setting up this data collection. So out of the 32 members, we also have them. And for the country that submit to us, we have country that submits data up until only year -3. So in the current data questionnaire, it was 2022 was the last years. 4 countries that publish until 2023, 14 until 2024, which is the more like the norm. usually, but we have 9 countries that also submit for the current year when they send us the questionnaire, and this is where we would like most countries to go to in this last line, where they complete the whole questionnaire, including all years. We also want to mention that we receive data from the European Union and from Brazil, who is not a member country, but has been we've had very good collaboration with them. So this would mean that in the beginning of 2026, so for the next State of Innovation reports, we would only have data available for 2025 for 9 countries, and we would like to expand this. So for this, we have a proposal that I would like to discuss with you, see how it's feasible for you to push toward that. It would be to, as much as possible, so in the next years, provide provisional data for the last 2 years in the questionnaire, and then revising this provisional data, because we understand that some countries, and we want to understand today why it's this, is that some countries only submit until maybe 2023, 2024. I would like countries to also publish all the provisional data for this to be revised in the next year. This would be still a better estimate that we would have today. If the data doesn't have to be as disaggregated as the other years, it could even be just a total for the energy, which would already be like very useful to us because we don't have this information as of today for the countries that don't provide this. So the disaggregation, it wouldn't have to be through all the 4 level of technology disaggregation. And we also like to propose that if the provisional data, the country is not comfortable in publishing those, we would be really happy also to receive the data, not publish it, could be kept confidential, and only used in regional aggregates in the State of Innovation report, in the World Energy Investment, if the country prefer, and be happy to not publish this. So the proposed next steps is, well, first of all, we would like to take all the opportunity at the IEA, and also on your side, we hope to promote the importance of this data, and the presentation from our Chief Energy Technology Officer is also to show this, that we really want to show that it's very important, and we understand that at your level and the data collection level, you might not have either the resources, or maybe like there's not enough awareness within governments of the importance of this data. So we really like to work together, be happy to give presentation, like the TMO, the ETP division would be happy to give presentation on the state of energy innovation. Of course, in terms of data, more practically, we would like for this year, if we could, to request for country to send provisional 2025 data, even if they have already submitted data for this cycle. So for this, we'll be in contact with you if this is possible. And if we could have just an estimate of the total public energy RD&D, this would be enough on our side, and it wouldn't be published unless you want it to be published in the next publication in October. In the coming years, we would like to keep this one submission a year for countries, but we would like for country to fill in all the years in the questionnaire as much as possible. And with, at the minimum, as I said, the total energy RD&D, even if there's no disaggregation possible. And we would also like to discuss how to improve the coverage. So both of the data collection here, to improve the coverage, for them to explain to us why maybe there are some types of funding that are not included currently, and also broaden a little bit to all types of energy innovation fundings, including those that are not covered currently, so we can have a picture of the entire innovation landscape.
Thank you very much, Susie. And this presentation was a very nice overview of our work, and with a particular emphasis on how to collectively and together work to improve the timeliness of the data, and you nicely highlighted also the importance of awareness on data work at the decision-making level, which is one area where we hope that we can help also our members. The IEA is willing to help, and we also want to hear from you if you see opportunities for the IEA to help in general. Thank you, Susie, because you highlighted a series of general next steps that could be refined, discussing with countries with a certain level of flexibility from what I understand. And this is, I think it's a very nice transition, because now we are going to hear from a couple of country representatives. I think we can go on with the presentations, and when we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the presentations. But please, for the participants, if you would like to pose some questions, feel free to write in the chat or to raise your hand, because we really are encouraging some dialogue in this workshop today. So the first of our speakers from countries is from Canada, Ji-Young Yu. We are very happy to have you here. You are one of our champions on data collection for energy technology RD&D. Ji-Young is a senior science and technology advisor at the Natural Resources Canada, and she will present the experience at the Canada level. Thank you, Ji-Young.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Great. I'm gonna share my screen. All right. Thank you so much, IEA, for inviting me to have a presentation today. I hope you can hear me okay.
Ji-Young, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
We don't see your screen.
Oh, you don't see my screen? No, that's interesting, because it says on share screen, it says it's shared. Okay, hold on. There you go. Can you see my screen? Oh.
Yes.
Can you see the presentation slide?
Yes, now it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, great, fantastic. My name is Ji-Young Yu, and I work at the Department of Natural Resources, and I've been running this, managing this data collection for the past 10 years. So I have some experience that I love to share with you, all of you today. Okay, oops, yeah, I'll do this. So my presentation will focus on our process. So our department, Natural Resources Canada, is a data coordinator for all the respondents. And we conduct the data collection by means of a survey, and that includes our virtual sessions with virtual sessions for all the respondents. And the timeline for the data collection runs from November to June. So the data collector, the coordinator, responsibility is quite extensive, in that we work with 25 federal organizations and all of our provincial territorial governments. It's quite extensive. And our responsibility includes establishing and maintaining linkages with all of our respondents. And that includes education and knowledge sharing, and responding to all the questions that the respondents might have during the process, and sharing our key results. And engage closely with working level officers as well as the senior level officers. And all of these influence in completing our yearly data collection. So our survey runs from November to June. So when I say November to June, meaning like it includes from launching the survey all the way to submitting the data, completed data to the IEA. And we spend summer and early fall time to share our results with the other respondents, as well as preparing for the next reporting cycle. And for the following slides, I'll go into more detail what each steps would, what sort of things happen during each steps. So survey launch happens in November and December timeframe. So when I say survey launch, it actually means we send out an email from our Director General's office to all our respondents. So we have 25, like for instance, we have 25 federal organizations, but it's not necessarily 25 people, right? So we could have up to about 100 colleagues that are involved in it, and there's much more behind the scene. So that includes the working level contacts as well as senior management contacts. So when we send out the email, it includes like official tasking in the body of the email, and we attach some of the documents. And I'm going to go into detail what each of those documents represent. But basically, they include 2 survey templates as well as some guidance documents. And after the launch, we also conduct information sessions for all the respondents. So during the data collection verification stage, where the respondents, our federal, provincial, territorial colleagues, actually start to collect information, and they refer to our survey package. So what we have is 2 survey templates. The first one is IA survey template. This is a survey template that it's based on the IA tech classification, where our respondents would provide the data against the IA tech classification. And along with it, we have the program level survey template. So the reason that we ask our respondents to provide information by program is because it serves as it serves as a paper trail. So in case there's a step turnover, this tasking goes to somebody else, or restructuring issues and so on. So we have we don't want somebody to just do the expenditure by the
I think we lost June for a few seconds. We'll wait.
There was something. It says, can you hear me okay? Can you still see my screen?
No.
Okay, so
we
let
can
me just
run it if you want.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let me see if I can make it happen again. Okay, it's number 2. Okay, let me see. Okay, here you go. Can you see it?
Good, thank you.
Okay, great. And you can hear me okay too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to continue on. So basically, the reason for the program level information is it serves as a paper trail where if there's a step turnover, restructuring issues for the organization, or the tasking goes to somebody else, then whoever the new person will be, still be able to continue on and doing the work. So the importance is not only we provide the expenditure by energy categories, but we want to ensure that it's assessed from the top down, like looking at the programs that or the funding types that each department has, and then they can go into down to project level. So that's very important that we stress our respondents to complete the two survey templates. And in addition to that, we also provide the information session deck, which is provided prior to the information session takes place. The reason is because we want to really flag the respondents to respondents to form a group, right? Because each respondent is different in terms of how they actually carry out the data collection. So we have no control over how they do it, but at least we want them, we want to flag that the tasking is happening, and that we will be conducting information session so that they know who should be better positioned to do this work. So each year we have all these respondents, might not necessarily be like the data collection might not necessarily be conducted by the same group year after year, right? So it can move around. So having a information session and also sharing the session that prior to that actually provides some we want them to react to it, right? Rather than give them a big shock, right? So it's a good way for them to actually know who to ask for and how to task this for this tasking better. And we also have supplemental guidance, because if I recall, the IA guide as it stands is about 100 pages long, right? So our respondents, oftentimes they don't necessarily look into it to actually complete the survey templates. So the guide outlines the general definitions of what the scope is, as well as inclusion exclusion criteria of the data collection. In addition to that, we also compile questions over the years. This is called the frequently asked questions document, where the respondents ask a lot of questions, and it could be very specific or it could be very general. So it ranges a lot across different types of expenditures and programs and project types and so on. So we have decided to share the questions as well as our responses with everybody. So this has been a good resources for people to go to, especially when we have so many people to deal with and we might not necessarily have one-on-one time with everybody. So this is a go-to document that we usually encourage our respondents to refer to. And the last item is the contact list. And I really like to emphasize how important the contact list is, because we want to make sure that somebody's working on it at some point. So the contact list is, unfortunately for us at least, it changes throughout the process. It means it could change at the beginning or it could change during the process. So we really spend a lot of time updating our contacts to make sure that, okay, their management is aware of what's going on and they assign their working level colleagues, working level staff, or somebody is working on it. So, and that, myself, for instance, because I manage the survey at the federal level, that I know who's working on it. So that way, if I have any questions or concerns, that I can have a direct contact with them. And so once we receive the 2 survey templates, we do internal reviews. So the first thing we do is we compare it against their previous year's submission, right? So we see, okay, is there any, sudden increases, decreases, what are the reasons? And we also compare against the budget announcements, announcement of a big, like, for instance, like infrastructure programs, and the programs that we know of. So we have a good understanding of their kind of funding profiles over the years. So we want to ensure that all the right expenditures are covered and they are accurate. So this review process actually takes quite a bit of time, and it's not just a one-time thing. And sometimes we go through groups of reviewing it just to ensure that whatever the information they receive are correct. Let's talk about our data collection period. So for instance, the collection that we just completed just recently, that includes 3 years. So we provided data for 2023, 2024, and 2025. So for Canada, we base our time on fiscal year period. So what it means is we start on April 1st and we finish by March 31st each year. So it spans across two different calendar years. So for instance, for the cycle that we recently closed, we start the survey and we finish the survey during the second fiscal year, meaning it happens between April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025. And that's when we start collecting the information. So what it means is if year 2024 is considered current year, we are reporting the past fiscal year, which is considered actual expenditures, meaning what we submit to the IEA, those are mostly what we actually spend. So they are very accurate, very reliable information. And the current year, which is 2024, is a combination of actual and budgeted expenditures. When we say budgeted, it actually means it's our planned spending by March 31st. So when our respondents respond, they will be reporting what they actually spend, because current year, there's some spendings that actually already taken place. Plus, they will be reporting back to me what they plan on spending by March 31st. So they're not 100% accurate, but they are quite good in terms of data quality. Now, the third year, it becomes a bit of a challenging task for us, and I'm sure for many of the IEA member countries, and we do report third year. Are we 100% sure about what we report? No, we're not. In fact, there's a lot of uncertainties going on with the numbers, but we managed to submit it. So the tactic that we follow is we are playing quite safe in terms of what we submit to the IEA. So basically, I'll give you an example. For instance, if we have a multi-year projects that, let's say, runs from I don't know, like say 2024 and beyond over 5-year period, then yes, the program administrator, they do have a pretty good idea what the expenditure will be for the fiscal year. Are they 100% sure? No, they don't know. They don't know what it's going to be. They have a pretty good idea. It doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna be spending that dollar, right? That budgeted dollar. So that's one scenario. Another scenario is, let's say if we have a new program, it's announced, it's budgeted, so people know about it. However, especially during the first year, they budgeted to spend X dollars, but like with my experience, oftentimes they don't necessarily spend the entire budgeted amount, but they spend maybe a small portion of it, or oftentimes it just get pushed to the following year. So it's a very high degree of uncertainty and unknown. We don't know. So when we report to the IEA, we just take the approach of, okay, I usually ask the respondents, if you're comfortable reporting it and you're not over reporting your expenditure, then please do so. It actually means underestimating for us, but it's better than not reporting it, first of all. And also another thing is their reporting it is underestimated because it's a safer way to report. And some respondents, they sort of say, you know what, we're not comfortable reporting it because we have no idea. We just simply don't know, right? And that also includes against what classification. So when, especially for programs, if it's a new program, we have some idea how much we're gonna spend. However, down to what area, well, it could be renewable, but then in what area, right? So we don't necessarily know, right? So that's one thing. Or sometimes in terms of program administrator, I've seen cases where, well, it could be one group that was supposedly to run this program. However, sometimes the funding splits, and now it could be 3 or 4 administrators are funding projects, and it's slightly different. One could be R&D, another could be demo, or in terms of how technology like kind of splits amongst themselves is slightly different too, or how the money flows, right? So because of all these different reasons, there's uncertainty. So things would change the following year, obviously. So with all these uncertainties, we try to provide as much as we can. And with provinces and territories, we do have provincial and territorial governments, as well as our federal, we have a federation, right? So with province territories, each province and territory has their own responsible ministry. So for instance, for the province of British Columbia, they would have their own ministry, just like our Department of Natural Resources. They will be the main person, main ministry to work with other ministries to collect information. So by the time they get back to me with the data, I don't necessarily see the each ministry's expenditure, but I'll be receiving the consolidated data for the province of British Columbia, province of Ontario, province of Quebec, and so on. Our last step will be compilation submission, and this is where we do last steps, last checks to make sure everything is okay before we start to compile and consolidate our data. And this is also the time when we look at our notes to ensure if there are any areas for further discussion, or any areas where improvements need to be made. In fact, there are areas that are usually flagged during the process, and not necessarily at the end of the stage, but it gets flagged often by the respondents during the process. So we try to note those, and then we proactively reach out to our respondents to resolve the concerns during the preparation stage. So it could be the contacts. We want to ensure that their contexts get resolved. If we don't want this file to be kind of get lost along the way for some reason, so we want to make sure that contexts to get established, if there is none. And then either we have new programs, new respondents, we want to make sure they know what's going on. So even if they have nothing to report for the current year, we always encourage our new colleagues to attend information session virtually, so that they know what's coming their way for the following reporting cycle. An important thing is we also do in-house analysis our data to share with all of our respondents, and I think this is one of the ways that encourage our respondents to respond to our surveys for the IA. And over the years, I have gotten a lot of positive feedback from the respondents saying, they say it's such a great way to see where their spending lies, and how the spending kind of profile goes. And especially it impacts their policy decisions and so on. So it's been a great tool for us to communicate with our respondents, and what also they want, what they want to see. And obviously we have to keep in mind there's always a confidentiality issues, right? Because we cannot open up all our data that we are privileged to have from our respondents. However, when we do analysis, we do it up to a certain level where respondents are comfortable enough to see each other's data. So it's been pretty great. So we do share our results each year. And as part of our preparation, we update our packaging materials and also set timelines. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, June. And this was a very extensive discussion of your, I would say, well-comprehensive system, because you are discussing engagement with a huge number of stakeholders for your data collection, and at the same time, the ability to estimate timely data. I think the two components are always a bit in tension, but we appreciate also your analysis on the different level of, let's say, data quality, depending on the year. So if any participant has any question, please feel free. Otherwise, we'll go to the next presentation that will offer a different perspective from Lithuania in this case. I will take question anyway after the two presentations and in the last session on discussion. So we have Vytenis Barkausas, Head of Energy Security and Innovation Center at the Lithuanian Energy Agency. Many thanks for accepting to share your experience, and we'd like to hear from you. Certainly a different perspective from the previous one, but equally relevant and interesting for the community. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I will try to share my screen. Hopefully you can see it.
Yes.
Yeah. So hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me as representative from Lithuania to share our experience with reporting RD&D data and its collection and reporting to IEA. So the first thing is, of course, about Lithuania. So we are located in northeast of Europe, so one of the 3 Baltic states with a quite small population of 2.9 million people. We are one of the 3 Baltic states in the Baltic region. We are European Union member. And well, I'm representing Lithuanian Energy Agency, so it's a state agency which provides assistance to the Ministry of Energy for informed decision making, and we are also cooperating with International Energy Agency, and one of our responsibilities is RD&D, data collection and reporting. So going to the process, so it's quite intuitive. So we have our fiscal years corresponding to, how to say, with astronomic years, but well, again, it ends up at the December 31st. So we want our stakeholders, people working with budgets to be, let's say, stop things, start with the most important things, and this one is sort of, I would say they would not prioritize this reporting in January, so we start from February. So we send requests for information in mid-February with 2-week deadline for response, and then we follow up with reminders via email or phone if needed. It's possible because as I will show later, that we have a small number of respondents, so it's quite easy to do that. So all required data then is collected by mid-March. So we have consultations with our stakeholders, with our respondents. If we see something is wrong, we ask for clarifications and so on. Then we analyze data and prepare the final form in Excel. And the final submission is basically scheduled to happen at the end of March. So not later than the last week of March. What else? So what makes this process work is a strong commitment to international agreements. It means that, okay, this comes from international organization, then it's very important. Then early planning. Well, we know what we have to do quite early because it's sort of each year the same process is necessary to be performed. We have clear formats for respondents. So and we also build trust through constant communication and assisting them with, if they have any questions, they can really communicate with us, ask it, and we are very open to help them with preparing the information. Yeah, so we have a dedicated employee whose phone number and email are always included in the request, which is usually official, and that dedicated employee is always available to provide consultations and answer all questions. So with the data collection process having been in place for some time, most of the data providers are now familiar with the routine. It means that, okay, so they know that Lithuanian Energy Agency each year, usually in February, will come with a set of questions with the precise form, and they will be ready to answer that. Yeah, we also review each submission each year, and with growing experience, we can say, okay, we see this number, probably it's not in that particular line which it has to be in. So we ask them for some clarification. If it's there, then it's okay. If it's not, we ask them just to fix it. So finally, we compile the finalized data into a single file for agency submission. So some small things which also we believe make it work. So we have a list of respondents set in advance and reviewed each year before information requests. So we are making sure that all the stakeholders are involved, all the necessary stakeholders. We see if we have something new or something, someone has to report something and so on. But in general, the number of respondents is really small, as you see. So it's 9 governmental institutions and 11 state-owned enterprises. Because we have so few respondents, then we have no problems reaching responsible representatives by phone or by email. So the communication is really easy and set up basically in advance. And what is also important is the clear leadership demonstrated by the management. So both from our management, but also from the governmental institutions and state-owned enterprises, which allows immediately reaching necessary people if necessary. And the leadership also, they provide clear communication that this is priority after you finish all your work in January with the budget. And what we also have is a probably small thing, but still we see it as very useful. So we have annual event for innovators. So it helps to keep and to maintain informal interaction with people working in this field. So it also helps to establish new connections if the new people come. And we also know much more about the things that people do in their companies, state-owned enterprises and other institutions. So it's small things, but those informal events, I think they are quite important for other jobs to do also. Finishing my presentation. So key takeaways. So it's prioritization, responsibility, strong preparation, early preparation, and also intense and permanent communication. One thing I also wanted to touch upon, so it's about the provisional data for upcoming year. What we notice is that, people are usually sort of conservative reporting it, and the actual number from the previous year usually much larger than the of the provisional data from which is for upcoming year. So we are providing that, but if we want to have precise data and actual data, at least from our perspective, it's better to report what happened last fiscal year, what already happened, actually. So with that, I've finished my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Vytenis. I think it's also a very nice example for us because you started this data collection a few years ago because of the accession to the IEA, and so it's evidence that the design also can be established and with success. So thank you very much. And I wouldn't disregard your innovation. Little innovation forum we are doing because it's important to keep the network. So it's a very nice example also of engagement that you raise. I think it's important in the direction of awareness and the importance of data as well, which we have discussed. So thank you again. And our participants didn't share any questions yet. I think they're very shy, and that's why we have a team here ready to get more information through the menti.com. So I'm passing the word now to thanking our speakers, of course, once again, and passing the floor to Susie and Anna, who are engaging us in a menti.com presentation with questions.
Thank you, Roberta. So yeah, we get the screen shared. So yeah, I'll ask you to go to menti.com as Roberta is sharing. So you can access it either on your computer or your phone. On your phone, it might even be easier. So if you go to menti.com, you use the code that's on top. So 3579, 3679. It will be the same for the question. If you go there, we would like to ask you a few questions. The first one is how are data on energy RD&D budget used in your country? So you can have multiple choice for this one. Excuse me. So because we would like to see how it's used in your country, so either for internal policy making reports or within government, if it's used also in public reports for the general public, if it's used in internal database, so by internal I mean internal to government, and used in report and so on, if it's used in a public database that's accessible for everyone. What's also interesting, if it's not used at all except for international reporting to us, it's also of interest. If you have any other also, you can put it in the chat. So we'll give you a few seconds to reply. Apologies. I have some. So I can see that it's quite interesting that it's used in public report for you, because we think it's quite important to share this data to the public. And we discussed about how important it is within the IEA, how important this data is, how we use it. But we know for sure that by experience, or the country that provide the data with the most quality, the most timely, are also the ones where the data is used within the government for policy making, where they have their own report outside of the IEA, where they have their own database, and where maybe the best case is even when international reporting to us is a bit of an afterthought, that they've made all the work for their own publication, for their news, and then you send it to us because we asked you to. But we much rather you use this data on your site. So it's very interesting to see that it's used widely, and especially in a public report, and not only internally to government. It's quite interesting. You can go to the next question. We'll keep all those results and use them for us. Second question. So in the case your country is not, so we'll take the example of this year. If you're not capable of submitting data for 2025 for the current year, and next year would be 2026 and so on. If you're not able to provide provisional data, if you could tell us why this is the case, if it's a lack of resources in the government, you don't have enough people to do that, if the data is not available at all, if you don't have any data source, if you're not confident enough in the data that you have to send it to us, if you have the data is not disaggregated and you think that then you wouldn't want to send that to us, if you have difficulty with coordinating with other institutions, or if it's the overall design of the data collection process that doesn't work, like if you only have performer data, for example. So this is, which one is it? Yeah, thank you. I was not sure about the color. Maybe the color coding is my fault. Might not be the clearest. So we can see an availability of any data at all. So for us, it's quite interesting that it might be that we'll need to work together to look at this. And lack of resources is where we discussed that We want to help you raise awareness of this data within government and make sure this is prioritized by government, and it's not just to please us and to send us some data. So yeah, thank you very much for responses. So then another bit, like even more maybe like technical questions in like we ask you the data in like February every year. For February, we know the deadline is a bit like more in theory to help us process this data for publication, and we have this first publication in May, so we want to have as much data as possible, but we would like to understand like if you were capable of providing, let's say this year, if you were capable of providing 2025 data as provisional, what month of the year it would be available for you? Yeah, for the month or never. Yeah, never is also it's really, so by never we mean, you know, the year after, so it would not be possible at all during the current year to provide this data. I see never in really big. Thank you if you can, and this for us helps us yeah, really understand, yeah, when we could also discuss, yeah, if you want to provide data later in the year as well, we can have this flexibility. Hopefully we can work on this never. Make it smaller in the future. Also, we have a comment from Ilya from Estonia. In the comment, any comment like you give in the chat as well, very welcome. If the Menti doesn't allow you to be as detailed as you want to be, we're really happy to receive comment in the chat, of course, by email. Like I'm always happy. Thank you. And this, yeah, this, so it's more us. So from you to us, like, how do you think we could help you provide more timely data? If there was anything that the IA could do, if it's like give maybe more presentation of how this data is useful, if we get more like maybe training on the methodology we don't necessarily have on the data collection, but give more clarity about the definitions and the coverage, we're happy to do so. If we could help raise awareness of this data by having maybe higher level people discussing to your governments and make them understand the importance of this data. You can write anything, or if it's too long, happy to, you can write in the chat as well. Can give you a few minutes if someone, not minutes, a few seconds. No idea. Yeah. And this, yeah, we obviously by email as well, you can contact us. We can. Well,
Still no idea.
well, yeah.
Extend the timeline.
We can, yeah, to work on flexibility of the line. This we're always happy to, because we have this like timeline today, but it's always flexible. It's it's been set up with certain publications in mind, but it can always be changed. Yeah, guidance targeted for people with lower data literacy is quite an interesting one. Is that maybe we tend to think that data collection is very obvious to people, but I know that depending on some countries, we could definitely help with this specific algorithm. So yeah, I mean, yeah, if you have any other, we'll keep all of this, obviously, so you can keep, yeah, sending this and we'll have a look at everything. I won't go through everything here because we want to have some discussions, but I'll keep everything and we'll come back to you. Yeah. And the last one, before we go to the Q&A discussions, is we'd like to ask you if in your country, for a decision maker, how is this data perceived? If it's very important, so if it's essential, very important, or less important than other areas. So we know that if it's taken in the whole package of energy data, sometimes it can be deprioritized. And we'd like to understand in your country how it is considered, so we can see also how we can maybe move things to the left, so it's considered at least very important. But it's interesting for us now because we have noticed also sometimes that energy innovation might not get the highest priority within energy data. So we think it's a shame, but it's good to know. It's good to know from your side as well. I'll give you a few seconds. It's so more important. Thank you. We want this to be so this is one of the areas we wanna work on, the awareness of this data. So you can keep replying. We can leave it, but then we can move on to the Q&A.
Maybe we'll give the floor also quickly to the comments we have in the chat, because I have a comment on the Estonian that kindly points to the web page. So thank you very much. I don't know if you want to make do we want to speak about that, or I would like to invite Steph Knibeler, because you are mentioning yearly reporting on government expenditure.
Yeah, I report from the Dutch government, for the Dutch government, and what I see is that I report every year, but I don't think that policymakers in the Dutch government are very interested in these numbers. So I think what I try to say here is, I think if you are making a report from the EIA every year, like you are saying you are gonna do like this year, I think that's very good, and maybe increases awareness from policymakers, and actually they see those numbers and they're like, hey, who's doing that? Or so I miss this feedback in policy making. So I think it's a very good initiative that you're doing a report every year about the governmental expenditures.
Yeah, thank you for the comment, and that's why we wanted to have this discussion today with the team, really using our data and your data for the policy makers report. So thank you for highlighting this point, because it's important for us to know that this will have repercussions at national level.
I hope so.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, awareness raising is certainly where IA can try to do even more. Maybe technical barrier at national level we can address with more discussion among different countries or more guidance, but we need to think about the comments that are made, if there is anything practically and feasible. But thank you very much. And I don't know if there is any other participants who would like to contribute. I knew that Andrea Sindinge from Austria could share the experience briefly. I don't know if you are here still. Is Andreas here?
He was here earlier.
Maybe not now, but if you're here, you can. I don't know, so we have the privilege also of Simon here from the Technology Policy Division, who is really a strong user of the data of all type of innovations. Do you want to make any comments to our data providers?
I would be happy to say a couple of words, Roberta. And I'll introduce myself as Simon Bennett. I know some of the people that are online, but also as the project lead for the State of Energy Innovation report that Timo was talking about earlier and Nick mentioned as well. And I think one of the points that Timo was making quite strongly was that we have this opportunity with the report to reach audiences in governments and in private sector stakeholders now quite easily, but it is still relatively difficult to get even the IEA communications team to prioritize the communication of data that isn't very recent and very newsworthy. And so one of the reasons why we wanted to hold this webinar and start to really explore the topic of timely data with you all is less about trying to to really get an earlier view on detailed and accurate data, but to be able to say in Q1 2026 that the IEA believes that IEA member country R&D spending probably increased by 3% in 2025, or probably decreased by 2%. It's that kind of level of information that we're interested in, to be able to write a statement that we can communicate clearly, rather than being able to say that there was an extra 100 million spent by a certain country in a certain technology area. So we would certainly appreciate carrying on this conversation and seeing how close we can get to that percentage. I certainly noted that Lithuania and Canada expressed opposite concerns about whether the initial estimate would be likely to be higher or lower than the eventual reported data for the year. I think that's interesting. I don't think it stops us necessarily from making an estimate, but we need to communicate carefully what that estimate means. I think many countries do have a budget that's made in advance that has that sort of level of kind of relative increase or decrease baked into it. So we're certainly interested in that. And we are available, I think, to give presentations to your governments on the report to raise that awareness. Interestingly, we haven't so far much communicated the data, the charts that we produce at individual country level. But after Steph's comment, I wonder if when we do present information at the next Energy Innovation Forum, for example, maybe we introduce an element of that shows some national detail, because that will then trigger a response from the senior decision makers, maybe even ministers from each of the countries that's in the room. Maybe we don't do ourselves favors always by aggregating this up to the global level. So I realize that we've come to time, but the offer to continue this conversation and to come and talk to you about the work, both from the our analytical side and also the data side, is very much on the table.
Thank you, Simon. And yes, we are up to time, but there is still a comment that I think is very relevant in the chat from Matis Sod. You are talking about resources, so it's one of the main areas that we saw in the Menti responses, lack of resources. Clearly, this is affecting several areas of statistics. We know that very well. So there is a question to Canada. It's true that in Lithuania, it's true that can you quantify the level of human resources in a quick mention, Jung?
Thank you, Roberta. Yeah, I just wanted to respond to the question posted there in the chat. So that's a very interesting questions, because I just wanted to share how we do it in terms of human resources. So I manage the entire data collection from the federal perspective. So, but it also means that I work with all of our federal respondents plus all the provinces and territories. So I'm the main person and working level, obviously. And basically, when we work with each respondent, So just to give you an idea of a number of people that are involved in it. So most of my work is involved in this. However, on the respondent side, they don't necessarily have a designated personnel. So for instance, if we work with some other respondents, they would have a person, I would have a working level person 1 or 2, up to sometimes maybe 5, it depends. And then behind them, they would have program representatives, right? So each program would have all these people feeding in the information, right? So we don't necessarily have a designated IA, they do this tasking, but the tasking comes from the above, from the management side, go down to it. So this will be part of their work. However, we don't necessarily have a designated person. So in terms of our country, how we manage is, yeah, I'm the main person that's part of my work. Well, I do other stuff, but this would be my major file, right? So I do it. Now, in terms of other people, they don't necessarily designate people to do it. But in terms of just the sheer number of people that are involved in it, just my department alone and Natural Resources Canada, we have about 10 units that are involved in this. So each unit could have up to, some people could be 10 people inputting in this information, and then they would have somebody who manages and they consolidate all the information and submit back to us. And my unit alone, for instance, we have about well, it depends on how you look at it, but we have slightly more than 10 programs, and they're all energy mandated programs. So we are one of the high spenders within our department. And also alone, just feeding in the information is quite extensive, because we have engineers who are as feeding in the information in terms of classification, and also we have financial folks that are involved in providing the information. So I mean, I could be it's just an estimate. It could be 30 to 40 people, right? So easily. So it just to give you an idea. So in terms of the overall number at the working level, I say for us could be easily over 100 people involved in this. So I hope that helps. But what I wanted to say, though, what I want to point out is that it's nice to have designate a person like myself to kind of oversee the things, right? Because this file is not, because the way that, I guess for us, the way that we work, it's nice to have somebody who oversees everything, so that it doesn't get lost kind of along the way, right? So somebody who oversees everything, and whoever responds it, I know who works on it, and the timelines, and also how their programs and so on. So it'd be nice to have at least one person oversees everything. So I don't know if that helps.
Definitely it does, although I don't know if everybody can here put all of this amount of resources into this data collection. So we are very impressed with your country. Maybe, I don't know if Vitenis can respond to the same question as you describe your system. How much resources in the data collection, and if there is any dedicated person?
So basically each enterprise and governmental institution, so they have one person who reports it, but it's usually either people working with innovations or people working with budgets. So it's usually, I think it's not a big thing to report from their point of view. Well, maybe I'm underestimating that, but they usually have such data, or at least they can prepare it in quite fast manner. Regarding the resources in our agency, so again, we have one person for basically for let's say 2 weeks in March dedicated for communication, resolving issues, and setting the Excel form. So I think, I don't know, maybe full 1 week of one person dedicated for that, although not a single one is working, not a single person is working on that, but I would assume it would be like 1 week. But again, we are small country, so not many respondents and so on.
Small, but maybe there are other countries where with a limited number of institutions, respondents, we can get a good idea of the bulk of the investment. So I wouldn't necessarily think you are necessarily the smallest in that respect, you know, because other countries may have a small number of big funding agencies. Mathis?
Yeah, no, thank you for the replies. I know it's very difficult to estimate, of course, the human resources for doing this data analysis. In that respect, I think it's very important as well that the IEA is showing as well how they are using the data. And I think the latest report on State of Energy Innovation, I think is an important one, because we can do things, but when it is not used, I think that's not motivating at all. And we need to find as well a balance, and that's for us always a bit of a difficulty in the level of detail and the amount of time you would like to spend to such an exercise. And you see sometimes you like to have very detailed things, but then you never see that back later on, and that's very difficult. And there might be some research on that as well, to which extent do we want to have the data. But I think I really appreciate the organization of this workshop, and I think indeed with the latest State of Energy Innovation report, I think it's really showcasing how data can be used, and yeah, we'll see on the longer term. Thank you.
Thank you very much on this. I think this is a very important conclusive message, because we wanted to make the point on the awareness of the importance of the data work, and it's really through making it visible that we can certainly enhance the value of data. And as I mentioned earlier, at the data center, we are very flattered that now there is really a natural channel with the innovation report for this data to become much more visible to decision makers. So this is also very good for us. So thank you for highlighting.
Yeah, maybe just to give an example, by the way, because you recently launched as well the investment report. And one of the conclusions was, look, it looks that there is more investment in R&D, but it looks mainly an increase in artificial intelligence, and that might be on the detriment of other research going on. And I think that's a kind of trend you can see. You can wonder, what is the right balance, where to invest, how much in AI or materials or circularity and all these kinds of things. And I think that's something as well, maybe later on for the policy reports. But it shows indeed has such a conclusion that it is a balancing act how we invest our R&D resources.
No, thank you for I think that's a fair one. It was around venture capital investment that we made that particular draw that particular insight. But I think the question of whether we are increasing budgets or reallocating them is we need at least to have the data to be able to say something in general terms about that kind of thing. So thanks for making the point.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Mathis, and thank you, everybody. I think we got a good amount of comments on our strategy here, and it's a lot of actual appreciation for the linkages with the policy and technology work, which is very nice. And we'll think about the technicalities as well with Susie and Anna, and I think we'll hear soon on this sort of proposed next steps by email. We are happy to take your feedback all the year long, not only through this workshop. This is just an opportunity to get to talk to you, but we really want to be available to discuss any challenges or flexibility required in the data collection. So thank you very much to all our speakers and to all the participants. Your work is extremely important, and this is really our key message here. We'd like to thank you, and we're looking forward for a continued collaboration in this area. Many thanks, everybody, and thank you to the team here and the speakers, including Timur and Nick at the beginning of the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.